Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me. Today I'm going to talk about the challenges of selling a premium, some clearly might say reassuringly expensive food product in a very tough world, and what I think we can do to try to counteract the cheap food culture. Illustrations are courtesy of our daughter, and this one shows our logo, which has recently changed to clear up any misunderstandings about there being two salt companies on Anglesey, one called Anglesey Sea Salt and one called Halen. Team Lea-Wilson, we're very much a family business. I run it with my husband David, who's sitting over there looking very fetching in his striped shirt. And between us, we have founded and run an oyster growing business, a fish and game wholesale company, a sea zoo, and now, from 15 years ago, Halen. In my spare time, spare you will notice is in inverted commas, I help at our local farmers market, and I also sit on a Destination Anglesey partnership, which is a private local authority body whose remit is to try and get more visitors to the island and give them a better experience once they come, and obviously food and drink plays a big part of that. So this illustration is to show how many times have any of you been to a dinner party where your host or hostess has boasted about the bargain they've got with the piece of fish or generally meat on your plate. We had dinner with friends who will remain anonymous, who used to be beef farmers, and we were eating a fillet of beef which they proudly told us they'd bought from their local Chinese cash and carry, and it clearly came from somewhere like Argentina because it was very cheap. I have to say it did taste all right, but it's this attitude that we are, or some of us are developing, which is worrying. At a local talk that oh, have I gone too far? How do I go back? Yes, sorry. Sorry, what do I do? Backspace. Yes, there we are. There we are. At a recent talk that David and I went to at the Hay Book Festival, we didn't meet him, we heard him, Sir Terry Leahy, ex of Tesco's, saying how proud he was to have reduced the average consumer spend on food from what was, when he was growing up, 44% of a family's income to just 7% today. And I think consumers are getting increasingly used to cheap prices, which have to, in turn, drive down quality. How can you possibly produce something so cheaply? And I also have to say that that's all helped along by what I'm calling here supermarket propaganda. And yet the food we eat, as the Minister said, has a far-reaching effect on our bodies and minds and our environment. I know that my fellow speakers will feel the same thing about the unsustainability of producing, buying and eating cheap food. And I believe that the problem is worsening. The other thing is, are there too many food festivals and markets? How can the producer and visitor differentiate between them, and how can we ensure that the festivals attract more visitors who want to buy, who have money in their pockets and have the inclination to spend more money on good food rather than consume their body weight in free samples? We went to Ludlow Food Festival on Friday, and the strap line along the top, the entrance to the castle is, I can't remember how much the admission is, lots of free samples. Well, they're not free samples. Somebody's paying for those. The other problem, the other challenge we have as small producers is what I'm calling multi-channel retail. There's just simply so many ways that you can sell and therefore buy products, and therefore many more opportunities for customers to shop around. We, as Halen, are courted by Amazon, QVC and other specialty websites who are trying all desperately to get on the local meet your producer bandwagon, which in turn dilutes the USP of farmers markets. Then you can add into that mix multiples, independents, farm shops and box schemes, and they're all vying for the consumer pound. The pattern of shopping, I believe, is changing. We buy little and often. Those of us who live in cities will shop, typically on our way back from the office for something to eat that night. Yet we buy household goods in bulk. We shop around, but we have less time. We like the chat that we get at markets, but apparently we all prefer self-service checkouts, according to a recent article in The Grocer. So, what's the next big thing? When we started, we were ahead of the curve. We majored heavily on our provenance. We were very proud to be a Welsh product, and we emphasised that. And we also formed a relationship between the maker of the sea salt and the eater by using the harvester's initials on the bottom of each tube, which we still do. But now even your egg can be laid by a named hen. So what can we do? Well, we can wring our hands, we can turn to drink, which my daughter said we'd already done, or we can consider the following. One of the things we can do is to co-produce. I've borrowed this phrase from the slow food movement, and it means basically having the right product for the right market. So our trademark is large flakes of Halen sea salt, but we are increasingly being asked by people to grind the Halen sea salt, which horrified us when it first happened, but now, if that's what the customer wants, that's what we'll do. So we've invested in a sophisticated mill and some sieves, so we can now produce salt to our customers' exact specifications. So talk to your customers, tailor your products. Major on taste. Food should be bought first and foremost because of its taste, not its price, not the way it looks, but because it tastes good. We eat, generally speaking, to enjoy, and feeling good about the food's origins is the icing on the cake. A story here is that a friend of mine was doing a cheese sampling in a garden centre, I think it was, and he was next to a lady doing a chocolate sampling. She was offering it as fair trade chocolate. Fair trade chocolate, fair trade chocolate. As soon as she said delicious creamy milk fair trade chocolate, she had much more of a take-up. Fair trade is really important, but the most important thing is its taste. Educate. It's up to us all to talk to people, particularly at food festivals. They come to the food festivals for a chat, so use the opportunity. Talk about the ethics of buying good, clean and fair food. Explain the difference between your products and the pale imitations that may be at the same market, but certainly will be on the market. And this last point, remember that we're a nation of food illiterates. That's not my phrase, it's somebody else's. But it's our job as producers to give people the confidence to know if something is worth eating or not. And as a direct consequence of talking to people, producers will make more sales. Again, going back to Ludlow, the stands that David and I spent more money on were the people, the producers that engaged us in conversation. Come away, mother, you know that's the silent killer. That phrase has entered our family's vocabulary. We heard it at a country living fair, where a lady was chatting away to us as she made her selection of Halen sea salts, and her daughters rushed up to her and said, "Come away, mother, you know that's the silent killer. Leave it alone." Join in the health debate. There's an awful lot of ignorance out there. One of the best ones is when people say to me, "I don't eat any salt at all in my diet." Well, if you didn't, you'd be dead. You do have to have a little bit. Is fat bad? I don't know. Is it? Is butter bad for you now, or is margarine bad for you now? Who knows? Be consistent. Don't run out of things if you can possibly avoid it. Our daughter has just opened a little food shop, and she's having huge difficulties with small producers giving her enough stock. She's not selling vast amounts, but if you're a small producer, a micro producer, it is very difficult. So to try and decide what percentage you're going to retail, what percentage you're going to do direct, whatever suits your business model. And also be consistent with your quality. Spend time sourcing ingredients. I don't believe it's good enough just to put together things and then call it a Welsh Bara Breathe. You need the best raisins, the best free-range eggs, the best butter. And also give yourself enough time to make it and present it professionally. Allow enough margin, both for your business and for anyone who's selling it on, and price the product for its market. Know your competitors, know their prices and what makes you able to charge less, or in our case, more. This is a good one. We should have let the minister see this one. Embrace red tape. Yes, I'm a small producer, and yes, we have an awful lot of red tape to wade through, but the regulations are generally there for a reason, a good reason, and it means that if you can meet the minimum regulations, your standard will become higher. Salsa is a viable standard to achieve. We are grade A, BRC, and we only employ 14 people. Work with other producers to share templates, and also consider PGI, which is the Protected Geographical Indication, which Welsh Lamb has, and PDO, which is Protected Designation of Origin, which Melton Mowbray pies have, to set you apart from your competitors. We are currently going for a PDO application, and we should hear in a couple of weeks' time if it's going into Europe. So simplify the message when you're marketing. That will set you apart. It will give you an edge. Look at taste first, then seasonality, organic, local, fair trade, sustainable. They're all really important. They're all good buzzwords. They're all things that your customers will pick up on. Take on supermarkets. No one is going to abandon them totally, but customers need to be aware that stores buy on price. They buy on how well a product will store and how well it will survive being handled. They do not buy the best there is, but what they can make the most money from selling. But as a small producer, you can make the best there is, and you can have the opportunity to tell people what makes it so special. Piggyback other brands. Are there products that naturally sit together with yours? We have a relationship with Treely Farm, for example. We don't do any business with them, except we eat rather a lot of their sausages. But it's a company that has a similar ethos to our own. Go for festivals that differentiate themselves. Abergavenny is a prime example, as Kim was saying earlier. And speak to other producers and festival organisers to find out what works. There's Abergavenny. Oh, it's gone again. Differentiating itself. And then, finally, throw your salt through every open door, to paraphrase Adele's song. Take every possible opportunity to get out there. We've been involved with what I'm coyly calling a recent sporting event held in London, because I'm still not allowed to say what it was. We deal with PepsiCo. We have just secured a contract with Green and Blacks, and we also work with a really interesting charity called Monster Supplies from the Ministry of Stories, where we produce salt made from tears. And you'd be amazed the number of people who actually have rung to ask us how we harvest the tears. Oh, this has definitely got a mind of its own. It's just doing itself. Anyway, you can see some pictures of the things that we're doing there. Yes, it's definitely doing on its own. And then finally, KBO. We can't compete on price. We're being battered by lookalikes flooding the market, but we're still going strong in our 15th year. Churchill's famous words, we must just keep buggering on.